And we are back. We are minus Doug, but it's Karen, Kevin, Chris, and our favorite, Paul. Paul from the Dirty Or. Hey, Paul, let's just jump right into it because I'm really excited to even talk about this. What do you have for us today?
All right. This is, I got her number.
How you like them apples? That's a little.
You get it. You get it.
That's a little forward nod to Goodwill Hunting over there. That was was a good one. I appreciate that.
This is a hazy IPA. Some would consider it a New England IPA, made with Galaxy and Mosaic hops. Awesome. 7.2 ABV. Awesome.
Awesome. Hey, there's a lot of people we know when we're out and doing events together that like that light beer that they don't want. This is another good one that can be a go-to, and it's just off the press, right?
Yes. Last Saturday we released it. We actually we did our beer fest down in Riverfront Park last Saturday, and we released it for the beer fest, and then at the brewery on the same night, and just sensational.
Sensational. Like those apples are amazing. So, hey, we're always, the Dirty Or, and I tried to wear my shirt today, and I keep feeling like I have it on because it's always in my mind. I actually love that shirt, but and it's actually has the same painting as the can right here. So, always good people. They always support us. They've been the longest supporter for Survive First and what we're doing over here on this podcast and survived. They're always here every week to support us and just express what they have going on. And one of the reasons I like the Dirty Or so much is because anytime I go in there, I always feel like family. It's always clean. The lights are on. It's a family place, and it's a nice place to just throw back a drink. They never push it like, hey, come in $2 specials or whatever. Just come in, sit down, have a good time, enjoy the place. Like it's kind of what I would imagine Cheers if I were an adult around that time to be. So, Paul, if we were traveling to the beautiful state of Florida and we got to Brevard County, how could we find you?
We are at 329 King Street in Cocoa Village. We are one block east of US 1, right on 520. King Street is 520. We welcome one and all. Nice outdoor seating area, pet friendly, family friendly. Love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going through some changes right in the village. There's I know they're building a big landmark sign kind of there, right there close to you. And kind of at the crossroads starting Cocoa Village right there, Forest and 520 on the eastbound lane. So please stop by, support the Dirty Or. They always support us. Anytime we're in Central Florida doing an event, they're there. So throwback. Try and get her number because we got it, and Cheers. They are absolutely amazing. So, thank you so much. Here's over on the far side.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. One thing I do want to make mention of today, and with a heavy heart, I was not aware of this. I found out about it this morning, and I still don't know how to react to it. But Norman's, who is our neighbor and confidant, made the decision to sell his business, and he was closed effective today.
Wow.
So we reach out to him. I'm going to miss him terribly.
Great seafood grill there for many years.
Yeah. 51 years in business.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, he was instrumental in helping us get open. I can go on and on about the things he did to help us before we even opened.
Right.
I've known him for a long time. I'm going to miss him.
And opened up his parking lot, right? Was that part of it?
Yeah, we shared the parking lot with him. Our landlord owns that lot, and we had always agreed to share it with him, and it's just been a great relationship, and it's just, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it'll be
sad to see him go.
Right. Yeah. That's and all the families that impact. I mean, when I was on the road on road patrol, we would go every Wednesday and have dinner there.
Right.
I mean, that was kind of just a stronghold and a safe place for us to go and eat. Sure. So, our thoughts and prayers to the Norman's family and all those people that are going to miss out on that great food too.
Yep. We'll miss them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to jump right into it, right? So, we're at the number 36, and 36 suicides in law enforcement this year, which is, we're at March. Karen has the coronavirus, so it could be. 36 plus 1. I don't know how Doug's going to handle that when he gets home.
We're all going to yell
We're all
Corona
going to be
every time.
quarantined.
But
We'll be quarantined here for
Corona
days.
beer doesn't knock the virus out, but maybe this one does. Go see the Dirty Ore, right? A healthy liver with some wonderful beer could knock whatever ailment you have going on. So
Listen, so anyone who is living at least in Central Florida knows that the pollen is horrible right now.
yeah, we'll
Allergy
let you
season.
use that excuse. That's good.
So I apologize for coughing a whole pollen.
Corona. That's it.
Corona pollen. But I have a sinus infection, but I'm here.
Hey, we
Right?
appreciate that. We do appreciate that. So back on, and I'm sorry we stepped away from that because it is serious. 36 suicides that have affected law enforcement families this year to date. We're only into March. That's way too many. And I don't know, and I have some experiences to share just over the last week and what I see and what I take in. But it's a really big deal. And that's one of the reasons we do this, to maybe give you an outlet, you the listener, I say. And it's actually, Karen was, as we were having the conversation on our way here, of course, on the cell phone because we don't drive together. But this is kind of like a stress reliever, thing for us. It helps us to get whatever's going on out and to deal with it and to work through it. So if you're joining us for the first time, thanks for tuning in. If you're a regular follower or listener, we're happy to have you back. And you can always contribute. We're live right now on Facebook at Survive First, and just let us know what you think. Get involved in the conversation. That helps us through, and we can deal with life together. No one has to be alone. We don't want you to be alone. You're not alone in this walk. Everybody deals with some kind of stress or just different things. And even if you're not a first responder or someone in this type of role, first receiver in the military or whatever that looks like, and you just want to have a different conversation. Hopefully you're talking along with us, but we would love to have you interact with us on Facebook Live, and that way we can hear what your thoughts are and get those thoughts into this conversation because it adds a lot of value. And so Karen's going to kick us off because she used like really big words for the description of this podcast. And my alphabet and vocabulary is very small, so
You're too much. So we were just kind of talking about stress in general, and what that accumulated stress does to us over time. And as Chris was saying, a lot of times we're talking just about first responders. We're talking about post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety, but we can reach so many more people. And as we talk about stress and as we talk about accumulated stress, I'm not a first responder, I'm a spouse, but I experience my own stress. Our producer, Jesse, who's sitting across from me, he has his own stress. Law enforcement, firefighters, they have their own stress. So this show tonight and everything that we're going to talk about the health impacts, what stress can do to you, how to combat that, how to know when you need to take a step back and just say no to some things in your daily life. This really is for everybody.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree. And it's a conversation that I don't think we should let die. And that we should continue to talk about it no matter where we're at. And it's hard for us to get into our circles with people that we're comfortable in and just say what's really on our mind. I think I keep telling people I quit shaking hands at the first of this year because I think a hug says a whole lot more, like I'm here for you, I care. And it actually warms my heart every single time because there's that quick embrace. It's not, I'm an emotional person, but I'm not overly emotional person. Like I just want everybody to know I'm here and I care. And when we have time, I don't ask. And we talked about this several episodes ago with Kevin about being the asshole. I don't ask if I don't care.
Right.
So when you have that opportunity and if it's weighing heavily on you, don't go to sleep with it. That's what I say. Whatever's on your mind, get that out there. And I'll just jump into, last time we walked in the studio, I was wearing dress clothes because I'm a newly assigned, not designed, but assigned detective.
You were newly designed too
Yes.
by Crystal.
Yeah, no. That's all my repertoire of clothing. Sorry. However, Doug was like, "Oh wow, you lost a lot of weight." But there was actually a time, and you know what? He goes, "Man, you're trimming down." No, I'm not. I'm really not. Like, I'm probably as big as I ever have been, but I feel great. And because I'm able to talk out these things and experience all of these challenges with people that that not only I care about, but that care about me, I feel. So, and they actually do tell me, which is great about having friends that will open up to you. But there was a time where I didn't have that. I had my wife, but I didn't know how to communicate. And I was working for a large logistic company. And one night I had come home early, and at that time, now she's my oldest daughter. She was only 4 years old. We had a brand new baby, Meredith. And I got home early one night, and she asked me why I never came home, why I wasn't happy, all these really hard questions. And I had no idea what she was talking about. So I walked into the bathroom. Actually, I sent her upstairs to get in bed. I had to go wash my face because I was very upset. And I looked into the mirror for the first time in a long time. And that transition later, a couple months later, I left that company. And I'm sitting on the couch across from my wife, Crystal, and we were laughing. And she goes, "Chris, it's good to laugh. When's the last time you laughed?" And I was like, man, I always laugh, right? Because that's a great answer. And she goes, "Yeah, tell me when." And I hadn't been laughing.
Well, I don't mark those days down.
Right. Good cover. I wish you would have been sitting beside me. But, that was several years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. And, to take one step back, when I looked in the mirror, I was fat and disheveled. I was dirty. I didn't even know whether I was coming and going. My stress level was incredibly high. And what were the things that contributed to that stress? I wasn't home. My daughter was clear at 4 years old that daddy wasn't home. And that was a big deal. That kind of hurt my heart when she had that in her mind to call me out. And then how do you change that? What do you do? And listen, folks, to get just past that point. So 4 to 13, we're talking 9 years. 9 years since Addison and I had that conversation, and I'm just I feel like I'm fully recovered from that time in my life, which...
And that's the great thing about kids. They're blatantly honest.
Yeah.
They don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah. And can we be that blatantly honest with each other?
We should be able to.
We should be able to. And why do we put those barriers up? Because, I'm too busy to even have the conversation. When you see your partner to the left and to the right of you, or maybe you're off today or whatever point that you're hearing this, and you're like, my partner's not here with me. Listen, call their butts out. There's no reason, hey, we need to talk seriously. It's not an easy conversation. It's never comfortable. But you got to say something, because for me, like, now I feel better mentally and physically because I'm firing on all cylinders, because my stress level is lower, because it's not just me, it's my whole team that we're taking on all these different things together. And when I say my team, it extends past my wife. It extends past my children. It extends past my parents and my in-laws and everybody else. It's a large team of people coming together to conquer whatever challenges are out there. And I know I'm long-winded, I'm sorry, but
No.
but that's absolutely the truth. Is over 9 years, I was reflecting the other day, and we've been working around the house, and we got some really big projects going on, and it's not even stressful. And why isn't it stressful? Because we have a plan. We have a plan to get through all of that. So go ahead, jump in.
Well, let me just, I guess, clarify. 9 years ago, you were not in law enforcement. This was in your other career,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So it is true that stress can really just pile on everyone, and that chronic stress, day after day after day, can really take its toll. Some of the things with chronic stress that we see are serious health problems that can occur: cardiovascular disease, weight gain, weight loss. Now I've experienced some weight gain, but in times of extreme stress, I have experienced extreme weight loss. You remember?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just about 6 months ago, I dropped, an extreme amount of weight. And so there are so many things. Chronic illnesses can pop up just because of that stress, diabetes, all sorts of things. So, it's not just in that first responder community. I think everybody that is on here, whether you're a spouse, a first responder, just somebody who maybe has heard about Survive First through one of our events and who has joined us in this. This is important stuff to listen to. So
Yeah, because when you relate it to, I relate it to the medical field. You know, you've got acute and chronic. You know,
Right.
acute is affecting you right this second. Chronic would be over a course of time. And then when you talk about stress, you've got stress, you've
Right.
got distress, which is not good for us, and then you've got eustress.
Right.
Eustress is actually good for us. There is a certain, people don't realize there is a certain amount of stress that actually makes you perform better and do your job better. You know, it's just, it's balance. You know,
My
having
use
to find a
stress is
balance.
Doug Levine. So, and I know he's following along right now.
He
He's
is.
probably my
He
good
is.
stress. He wants to challenge me, but I love that now.
He says, "I wish my stress would." I can't read that. I
Lose
wish my
my
stress
weight.
would lose
Lose
my
my
weight. Doug always has something funny
Yeah,
to
no,
say.
Absolutely. I can tell you, and I just lost my train of thought because I was thinking about Doug Levine and his challenge to me, but he wants me to close out more calls. I just want to get back to work. That's my stress now. I've been out on a 2-week training, and man, it's a young man's game. And as we get older and we get further into our careers, we learn how to mitigate getting older and get better with time. It's kind of like aging, like a fine bourbon or a wine that, you know, the longer we set, the better that we get, the smarter that we get, because we know that we don't have to be as crazy as those young guys because we have less to prove, you know. I've spent a lot of time with different agencies over this last week, and I can already see in some of those circles where if they don't find outlets, if their leadership doesn't take charge into what's happening, they could have some men go the wrong direction. I say men because that team is only full of men. They don't currently have any females on their team that are operating. And when I say operating, I mean on a SWAT team level. But it's a bad conversation because right now it's a joke, but we know that when they hit rock bottom, they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have any outlet, and their relationships that doesn't come across. I mean, they're strong when they're working together, but outside of that, I don't think that they have a place to turn to. And interjecting into that group, and you get 15 guys together and ladies that are all alphas that all have something to show and prove. Well, okay, so 14 because I'm definitely not there to prove anything to anybody. I'm just there to make it. But they're going to fail, and that failure is going to drive up these numbers. And why this conversation has now been happening. And I know with Doug, he's been retired from the city of Cocoa for how long?
Almost about 2.5 years.
So I know that Doug has actually been having this conversation for at least 9 years, right? Or at least 8. But I know when John Blackledge was bringing him to the police academy, and he has them speak to every single class to kind of lay the foundation of what that looks like. So it's not a new conversation, and hopefully these young men will find their way and allow an interjection to say, hey, that behavior is unhealthy. It's and it's dialing into a different stress that we can't. I can make you run as far as you want to run. I can make you shoot under pressure, but I can't take care of your home stress. And that's if you don't give us an outlet and start talking about it, then you're going to go the wrong direction, which is scary to me because I literally sat there and witnessed the conversation. I was like, wow, that's not what we need here. You need to find that positive and need to find a way out of your home stress.
Right. Well, and it's so easy once you get to that point where that stress from your job, stressors that are going on at home, bills, kids who are of a certain age and, either talking back or not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then just your daily stress outside of work and home. For some people, driving down the road and sitting in traffic and being late to a place that they have to get to, that can cause a lot of stress. And you pile that on and pile that on and pile that on, and you can lose sight of holding on to the positive things because your stress level just gets higher and higher and higher.
So being married to a law enforcement officer, like I feel like we have our own time, right? So being late to everything, what does that stress look like for you? I mean, Chris, I can tell you I know Crystal's listening along or following along. By the way, we don't show up on time to anything, and that is not my fault. Crystal started when we first got married. She was late to the wedding day, so she kind of set the tone, and I just kind of follow through. And that is her biggest pet peeve, if she ever had to say it, is that how late I run. I'm sorry. We get there when we get there, and I try my best. I honestly do, but cop time is different time.
Well, I think when we're talking about Doug, we're talking about a whole different animal. He doesn't like to be late to anything. I probably cause him stress because I, lollygag around and we'll get there when we get there.
Right.
So
the tables are turned.
Yeah, the tables turn. He'll get stressed out if we're running late to something. As a law enforcement spouse, though, just speaking of that stress, or maybe even the spouse of a firefighter, and I have some friends that are spouses of firefighters as well. We have our job that we go to every day, and any job. Doug says it great when he says stress on a scale of 1 to 10. A 10 is a 10, no matter if you work as a firefighter, if you work in law enforcement, if you're a teacher like I am, if you are
your stress is bigger than ours because we don't have coughing kids. Listen, I cannot do that.
I'm telling you, it's
kids
crazy.
In their Germy hands.
Oh my
gosh,
yeah.
I know. I've told you about that.
Come on, I just want to
teach your kids how to wash their hands.
And wipe from front to back. I don't know, something, please. I don't know what it is. There is something in the air, and it's more than the coronavirus. It's horrible parenting. No, you're not horrible parents. Listen, if you're engaged in your children's life, that matters. That helps to take away stress from us, right?
I've completely lost my train of thought. We were talking about being a first responder spouse. We have the stress that we bring home from our jobs. Then we also have the stress of worrying a lot about our spouses, especially if we don't get that call. And I can't speak for other first responder spouses, but I can speak for myself. At times, it was like being a single parent. Right. And it might be like that for Crystal now. When you have those long days, it's not just 8 hours. You're there 24 hours.
And she's a trooper. She, from the very first job, there was never an expectation when I worked for that logistical company to be home through holidays.
Right.
And then I went into the military to try and change, which added another layer of stress and being gone for years. And she did it as a single mother. I mean, I was literally only the closest thing I was a phone call. And there was times that we couldn't even talk when things where stress was happening in the house as far as our daughters went. And then now, actually, we get to spend more time together. Which maybe that adds to her stress too, because but
can't see that.
Where I find stress is now, I value my time with Crystal and my kids so much.
And that's how Doug and I are.
Right.
We're more stressed out when we're apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than when we're together. I guess we shouldn't be stressed out when we're together.
Well, it would go back to the eustress, right?
Yeah, it goes back to eustress, and my wife so eloquently just put it out that I'm the spouse of a police officer as well.
Right,
so I'm a first responder and the spouse of a police officer.
Yes.
Something cool that me and my wife did here recently, about a month or so ago, we actually bought old school board games. We actually a couple of nights a week we'll literally sit around and play Yahtzee or play cards or play something to engage, because we found out a lot that I'm sitting in my chair, I'm either playing my Xbox. Yeah, I'm 44 years old, play Xbox. And or I'm sitting on my phone, she's sitting on her phone, and 2 hours have passed and we've both been engrossed in our phone. It's bedtime. We haven't even talked hardly during the day or spent quality time. So I would encourage people, intentionally take your phone and sit it down. And that's what we've both started doing that here more and more as we go out to eat or go out, we'll go out to the port and listen to live bands and stuff, do stuff to have date nights, and, take your phone and sit it down.
Face
turn
down.
it, face down, on vibrate, so you can't
turn the Apple Watch off.
Yep. And that helps a lot. Because we're unique in the fact that I'm 44, she's a little older than I am, but all of our kids are grown and gone. We've been empty nesters since I was 40.
Wow.
So our kids are grown and gone, so we have that time now. We're still young enough that we have that time. We can take that stress. She comes in from a stressful day. She can talk about it or not talk about it.
Right.
Sometimes you just don't want to talk, and
Right.
from being in law enforcement, you guys talk a bunch, especially if she's been on road patrol for 13 years now.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's going, and everybody's shorthanded, so you're just humping calls from call to call. You're talking, and there's days when she gets home that the last thing she wants to do is carry on a conversation. Sometimes I tell people I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Right. Some days the last thing that I want to do is sit in a room for 2 more hours after I've been in an interview for that long and talk and have to engage my brain, because you go from a methodical, strategic standpoint to I can't even think about myself and what I want to say. So just to sit on the couch and hold hands. I mean, we're like an 80-year-old couple. That's what they do.
We do the same thing.
And just be quiet. I mean, if we don't have anything to say, just that, just the touch, makes a world of difference. We just tried something different. None of our daughters have televisions in the room. They don't have gaming systems. And I'm not bragging about that. It's just a choice that we made for our kids. But our oldest daughter, and I'm talking a lot about Addison tonight because she plays a crucial role in developing me as a dad and as a person and someone in society that is engaging people. And I like to have that teenage perspective now. Not that I ever lost my own, but it was probably inappropriate. But I noticed that she was spending a lot of time on her phone in her room. And so I asked her, I said, "Hey, Addison, do you have a TV in your room?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, the reason you don't have a TV is because we don't want to lose you to that trap in there that just consumes you. So if you're going to use your cell phone, you can only use it outside of your room. So you can come downstairs and you can sit in the room with us, or you can choose another place or outside." And you know what it does? It kind of drives her away from doing it as much, because there's always a conversation. There's always something happening around the house that she wants to engage in at that point. So pulling her out of the corners of her room has been a help to help her re-engage and have conversations and smile and laugh again. Kind of like what Crystal was saying when we were having that conversation. And it's just natural when you're around your family or people that you enjoy to laugh and have a good time, to let your walls down and de-stress.
Absolutely. Doug Levine chimed in and said, "We take our work home now more than ever because of cell phones." He said, "When I first started, we only had landlines and pagers." Doug still has his pager.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's some things that never die, right?
But that is true. It's like
I kind of miss those days,
Yeah.
kind of
beep,
pager.
beep, 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 beep.
I miss the days of, we had to have a conversation instead of texting everything. Now it's convenient because we have group text, and we can really talk to each other really quick and accomplish a whole lot at one time. Like, criminals need to watch out how, expeditiously we can work because of the tools that we have. Correct. However, you're right. He's absolutely right. When do you set it down? I've had to go back through and recreate good habits of when is it time to read an email and when is it not. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, when it's family time now, it is not time to read my emails. And I've just been trying to cut that out, which was hard because I'm the guy that doesn't like the little red dot on any of my boxes in my iPhone.
I'm the same way.
And so I got to clear them. And then what does that do? That takes away hours or days or minutes of my life, but it also disconnects me from my family.
Well, I'll tell you, one thing you can do is you could get rid of the notifications. Like, I couldn't stand the little red dots on my phone, and so I made the conscious decision to get rid of the notifications, so I don't get notifications. There are never any red dots, and you're right, that can, because we're all,
tied to it.
We're tied to this phone. It causes less stress. Another thing, and I know that you probably can't do it, you may not be able to do it, but for me, my job really is from 7:30 to 3:30. But as a teacher, I'm sure everybody has heard, we don't stop. We take papers home to grade. We don't have time at school to plan lessons and to plan for the week. So we do that at home. I work with exceptional education students, so I write, 60, 70, 80 plus IEPs and have that number of meetings every single year. Was that here?
That's some loud
Wow.
exhaust.
Yeah.
It's like a mad bumblebee flying by.
And so with that, I bring a lot of that work home. And I always said, I'm not going to connect my work email to my phone. And I held true to that for years. I still brought work home, but the email thing, I was like hell bent. I am not going to tie my work email to my phone. And I made the biggest mistake probably about 2 months ago. I opened up my email from work and I opened it to my phone, and I didn't even really connect it. I went through the school district website and pulled it up, and it's like every single night now when I'm home, I have to at least go on once to see, have I gotten any important emails? And why do we do that to ourselves?
Why can't wait
Because
till tomorrow morning?
that's going to be there tomorrow morning.
Right.
And it might be there 2 mornings from now because I might not have time to get to it. But we do this to ourselves. And sometimes there are certain things that we can't put the brakes on and say no to. There are always going to be those stressors in life that we just can't say no to. But there are some things that we can kind of scale back and dial back and say, nope, I can't do this right now, or no, we're not going to do this way. It's like people asking you to do things because they know you say yes to everything. Not that they're taking advantage of you, but they know you're a good-hearted person and you just want to help, and you can help them. And you continue to say yes and yes and yes and yes. But after time, it starts to become almost a burden to those people because they never have their own time, because people are always asking them for help. And just because of their good nature, they say yes, but it impacts them in a significant way. Sometimes we need to learn to put the brakes on and realize that it's not a crisis to tell somebody, I'm sorry, I can't today, or I can't right now.
Right. Well, no, the word no. Everybody right now, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, repeat after me. No.
I was gonna say I was the same way. The new guy at the fire department, probably the first 10 years, and I know my wife will correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
But I would say the first 10 years, I was one of those guys. Like, if you needed time off, you could say, "Hey, Kevin, man, I took annual leave. Nobody will fill it. Will you do it?" Like, I was one of those guys that everybody used to call, like, if they needed somebody to work for them.
Right.
And I tell people the first eight years that I worked for the fire department, I used to average 170 hours every 2 weeks of being at work.
Wow.
And because of that, because I would take a little overtime, then people call you, and I couldn't. I was one of those people, like, I couldn't say no. Like, if you called me, I was sympathetic to your needs, and then on that in turn made me be away from my family a lot more. Mm-hmm. So there were a lot of things that I missed when my kids were growing up working. Because that's the only downfall to being a fireman is when you're at work for 24 hours. So when I take that overtime, I'm now gone 48 hours.
Right.
That's a long time.
I'm off 24, then I'm back for my normal shift. So that's one of those things for family life, you have to be careful that you don't want to be the guy, you always want to help your fellow brothers and sisters out, but balance. You have to balance it. I got to where I was able to say no, because I was one of those guys, like, I would cancel things that I had planned with my family to go in and help people. Some of that was, being newer, and then once that, you always want to be liked and be a go-to guy for people, but you just have to. It's definitely all about balance.
Well, and I don't know if you can have balance if you don't know what your goals are. And I've tried to ask this question on a lot of people lately, and including myself. And it's an ongoing discussion in my household is, what is our end goal? What are we trying to accomplish here? Because I know people that I work with that all they want to do is work, shift after shift, overtime after overtime. And what are you trying to achieve? Because if you're chasing the dollar, what do you need those dollars for if you don't have a goal? There has to be an end point or a point that you say, okay, I'm where I need to be to take this step. And after this step, now I can digress and I can relax and I can enjoy, the fruits of my labor. But I think that we get so trapped in, I got to work because the next bill, don't overreach. I mean,
and bills are always going to be there.
Well, and what happens, because I understand the whole overtime thing. Man, that money is nice when it's coming in. Doug's last 2 years, he had tons and tons of overtime. He was never home. But in a case like yours, Kevin, and I'm not saying this happened to you, but I can see where maybe not just because of the overtime money, but because you're the new guy, you want to be liked, you want to get in and have people respect you and like you. And so you get your life and your family now accustomed to all that additional income coming in from overtime. And can that cause more stress? Because now when you finally do say, I can't take all this overtime, I can't work all these hours, now you are cutting your income drastically by trying to reduce the amount of overtime you work, and that in turn can cause financial stress. And so you really do have to know ahead of time, be proactive in determining what your goal is and why you are doing things, and when to kind of draw the line.
Well, the over the last year, Crystal and I took a vacation together without kids, and holy smokes, I don't know I'd really like to drop but it was amazing. It basically really took our relationship to a completely different level. We remembered why we got married. Now coming up on 15 years, it just kind of it ignites a new fire, because our time together is so valuable, and we had been doing it with every outside and inside distraction that we could never see. And now stepping back from that, it's like, okay, when's the next vacation? When is our next time together? Now we dial it down to the weeks of, okay, we have this day off together. We're going to spend this time doing this. This past weekend, we took a little excursion together and kind of got lost for a minute. And it was fun. Not literally lost, because I have Google, and Google doesn't allow for that. But figuratively, we got just caught in the moment, and it was really nice, because then when we came home, we still had a great weekend with our girls and everything, but it refreshes and resets everything, and it helps you to drive on to the next week. We have projects going on in our house, and the overtime is nice. However, at the end of that, at those projects, when they're completed, those are based around spending time together, quality time, valuable time that we don't have to go out, to do. So it brings us in at home, and we'll still, go out and have a good time, but we're able to have those same things at our house. And that's the reason for overtime now. If we're working overtime, it's not to just continue to, because I don't feel that I could put a price on my happiness. I think it's just my time together is where my happiness lies. So there's no dollar amount, and even officers or firefighters that are bouncing from agency to agency to agency, I ask you, what is your goal? How much are you worth? And you can throw the number out there when you're talking to yourself. You're driving by yourself. You're like, I'm worth $150,000. Yeah, you might be, but what does that $150,000 a year get you? What sacrifices did you have to take to get that money, and how much time away from your family or the people that care about you? And if you're alone, listen, I get it. You're young and you want to have nice things. By all means, have nice things, but be realistic in what that looks like, because it doesn't matter how much money. If you're missing out on the relationship and you think about that one person, you're like, man, that was my one. I missed it. Well, I'm sorry. If you're just now having this conversation with yourself, catch up, get back in the game. Relationships over money trump money every single day, and that's what you're going to have, at the end of the day, because, you're not going to take the money with you. Make the memories with the people. Put aside all those things that set you back and stress you out, and live that happy, healthy life. I love Live Happy, because as easy as it's said, we all know that it's not easy to do. And stress took me over for many years, and that was time that I lost. Yeah, I was here and I was coherent, but I wasn't really engaged. And I hope that we can re-engage that.
Yeah, and that's what distress, when you start talking about distress, like what you were having, the distress, that's where it's not good for you. It causes you to disengage from your loved ones, from your friends, your family, everybody else. And I mean, I tell people, when I talk about this stuff, I always, I say if I'm pointing fingers at somebody, there's 4 of them pointing back at me, and it's more like I should be doing this.
Right.
Because everything that I say, like I always tell people, I don't have it all together. Right. If I did, I would quit the fire department and write books and tell other people how to get it all together or something like that.
Right.
But just us coming on this podcast, and the spouse of a first responder, a policeman, a fireman, and everybody talking about that, what stress looks like, what can you do? Some people don't realize, hey, what can I do? And like you just said, my dad, one of his many hats that he had is, for years, he was, before he got into the PTSD and all that he does now, he was a marriage counselor. And there's a lot of marriage counselors that will actually tell you what you and Crystal did is perfect. Like if you can do that, even if it's a staycation,
right?
Even if you just go away for a couple of days, you get your parents to watch the kids, and you just spend quality time with your spouse. I know I'm just as guilty of it, and I'm sure my wife will probably point that out to me here in just a minute. But yeah, I mean, you have to plan those times to where you reconnect and re-engage with each other, because our work, your wife being an emergency room nurse, you being a police officer, my wife being a police officer, me being a fireman, sometimes you can get so disengaged that you look at it, you're like, man, what did we do this last week? We haven't talked to each other for an hour over the course of this whole week.
And I find my weeks are even longer when we don't even get to talk, because it's like, when do I get that time?
Well, and I find that there have been 3 cases in mine and Doug's lives in the last, 2 years? Yeah, in about the last 2 years, where we've had surgeries coming up. And we knew that each of these surgeries were going to be very stressful, though we didn't know leading into them how much stress they were actually going to cause us.
Right.
They all wound up being far more serious than we originally thought. But we planned ahead, and we were blessed because we were able to do this, but we planned vacations the week or 2 before each of these surgeries. The first one was mine. I had skin cancer on my face, and we thought it was going to be minor, but we planned a very nice vacation beforehand. We went on that vacation, and I thank God that we went on that vacation, just the 2 of us, and had that time to really connect and just relax, because it wound up being radical facial surgery and complete reconstructive surgery for my face. And then when he had his shoulder surgery, we planned a vacation just 2 weeks before his shoulder surgery. And we did that because we knew he was going to be down for a long time. And what wound up happening, he wound up getting a life-threatening staph infection. And so, again, we're blessed that we were able to do these things. And not everybody can take these vacations, but even a staycation, taking that time, if it's just saying, if you have family, hey, we're going to take a couple days or even a weekend for ourselves. But when you have a stressful event that's coming up, planning for that, and maybe planning a little bit of time before that to de-stress and kind of just, ground yourself before that. That's a great thing to do.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, my wife always has great things. She said
she needs to come on.
I know. You never see a Brinks truck following a hearse.
That's true.
Like you said, you can't take it with you.
Right.
You don't ever see the bank truck following the hearse so they can bury it when you go to
right.
Right.
So, yeah.
And especially anywhere around here. I don't know what they do up north, but I definitely know they don't do that in Florida, because we'd be robbed. No, I'm joking. Yeah. That's wrong. But
I'd see where they were buried and go back and visit them.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we're going to catch back up on that debt that you owed me. Right. Right. This all goes back to how strong your mind is. When you have that strong mind and you can see clearly and dial out what stresses do I have ahead of me. What am I going to do to combat those things? I actually say it out loud. Hey, Crystal, these are things that are on my plate. these are things that I need help with. This is what I need to work through, or these are things that are in the back of my mind that are kind of nagging me. Can you help me? And of course, she jumps in like a champion every single time. But what if you're alone? What if you don't have someone to stand in your corner? You don't feel like you have someone standing in your corner. What can we do to combat that?
I actually was just going to talk about that, because sometimes, even when you have somebody to talk to, sometimes you need time for yourself. We have to have that connection within ourselves. And I know this isn't for everybody, but I would preach this to just about anyone. There was a time in my life where I was going through an extreme amount of stress, and someone asked me to go with them to a yoga class, and I was like, I can't do, this is crazy. I can't do this. I can't focus on anything. I went to this yoga class. I couldn't hold any pose, and I'm pretty athletic. I mean, I'm pretty flexible, but I couldn't hold any pose. And
Downward dog.
Yeah.
That's what Doug loves about you. I plugged that one for him too.
Oh my
Game, set,
goodness.
match. Doug, we're always here. We're always thinking about
I'm
you.
sure he's watching.
Yes.
I almost kind of laughed my way through it, which is not what you're supposed to do. So it wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing for me. And then the next time I went, the yoga instructor came up to me and she told me, focus. She said, you have too much on your mind. And she was right. I was going through an extreme amount of stress at that time. And she said, pick a spot on the wall and focus. And I did. And I can't describe how relaxing that 1 hour, 2 times a week became for me. So for me, it was yoga. And, I didn't continue yoga forever, but it was very, very therapeutic for me. I left my phone in the car, which I don't ever do.
Right.
And there was a little room where you could leave your bag and your flip-flops that you walked in with. But I didn't even bring my phone in. I left my phone in the car, and that was an hour of solid me time. I didn't talk to any friends that were in there with me. It was just me time. So whether it's something like yoga or running, that's another thing that I do that is just me.
Yeah.
I take an hour and I get out on the road and I pound the pavement. Just something that you can do for yourself. Ladies, you can get your nails, get your toes done. I know some men get their nails and their toes done. I don't know if you guys do.
Listen, yes.
Every once in a blue moon.
No, those. so not my fingernails, but my toes definitely, because I like the ladies. She, rubs your feet and your
Massage your
calves.
feet,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
so good. Like,
Yeah.
But it's so important to not only have someone to talk to, but to recognize that it is okay to take quality time for yourself, not time to lock yourself in a bedroom and isolate yourself from others because the stress has gotten so much that now you're in this isolation mode and depression mode, but true quality, healthy, positive time for yourself. It's actually important that we do that to connect with ourselves.
It is very important. I here recently, about a month and a half ago, I started back doing, and you'll remember it from the Army, rucking.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like
I see that all the time.
I've been posting it, and I actually, whenever I go out and ruck, I actually don't even take headphones.
oh yeah,
Like it's just quietness. Like I've been going to the different wildlife preserves and doing it, and you listen, and when it's early in the morning or late in the evening, at times like that, it's sometimes that's the best thing that you can do to de-stress, to bring that eustress onto your body, is go out, exert a little physical exercise, especially given me and you were talking before, I'm getting older. It's a young man's game. I'm 44, and there are guys that could be my kids, that are just starting, that can run circles around me.
oh yeah,
So I have to rely on, like the shirt I wore tonight, get fit or die. And then it's got a saying on the back that Tim Kennedy does. And I started that a year ago because trying to get in better shape, doing it, not only my age, getting in this line of work, you need to be at a certain amount of fitness.
right.
I made a little video, I think it was over a year ago or sometime, but I talked about it and I said, in our line of work, if I ever had to sit across the table and look at somebody and say, I couldn't save your husband or your wife because I'm out of shape.
Right. Oh wow, that's pretty deep. Yeah.
So, I tell people, have something that you do. Have something that benefits your body and gets you I don't eat as good as I could. I'll go through spurts where I eat great, then spurts where I come have some dirty old beer.
It's healthy.
Yeah, every other
it's
Monday.
healthy.
It's fruit, water, and weed. I mean,
There's
come on.
apple in it.
It's great for you. But yeah, have some type of an outlet. And I've even got to the different workouts that I've started doing. I've actually started shying away from even listening to music. Like, just take that as like a quiet. My buddy said it best. He's a retired Green Beret, and when he does the different workouts like the Murph that a lot of people do for Memorial Day, he does it in silence. He said, because his thing is suffer in silence. Those people that you're doing that in honor of, they didn't have music to listen to when they were giving their life.
Right.
So his big thing is, do it in silence. I'm not saying you have to do it in silence, because occasionally I do like to listen to music too. But doing that rucking has really got me into almost like listening to nature, going out and just hearing the quietness and the nothingness of nature.
It's funny you say that. If Doug's listening, he will, I'm sure he'll chime in on this one. But sometimes the more we pack on to our lives, the more stress that we pile on, we forget about all those little things that we used to do, whether they're hobbies or just daily things that we used to do. And I know for me, photography was always a huge thing of mine, and that has just been shoved by the wayside. I can't remember the last time I took my camera out, but of course now we also have these things that take pictures. But birding has always been huge for me. I can hear a bird call and I'll be able to say what type of bird that is.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to tell you, Doug has gotten really good at it.
I bet you he won't admit it.
He will not admit it, but he's gotten really good at it. But the other day, I had this sinus infection. I was home 2 days from work last week, and then the rest of the week I was just all clogged up. And this weekend, I was just tired of being in the house. I was in my robe, and I had all this work that I was trying to catch up on, and I'd been sitting at the computer for what felt like days, just trying to catch up on this work. And I went outside, and I just got a broom on our patio, and I started sweeping, and I heard all these birds in the trees above us. And for an instant, I remembered how much I used to enjoy birding, and that's something that I don't do anymore. And I went in the house, and I got my Sibley's bird book, and I went back outside, and I just sat there for 5 minutes listening for the bird calls and looking for the birds in the tree to see, have I seen that bird before? Can I identify it? Of course, they had all flown away by that time, but
they knew what you were up to.
But just getting back, recognizing, it was kind of a moment for me, like, oh my goodness, this is something that I really love doing, but because of everything I have going on in my life every single day, I've forgotten about doing the things, the little simple things like sitting out in my backyard and listening to the birds in the backyard, nature.
Yeah.
It's so peaceful if you can just take 5 minutes.
When you said birding, I remember a story that my parents tell. Like, I was 5 years old, and now I'm in public school at 5 years old, and my mom and dad could see me in my bedroom, and I was walking by the mirror, and I should have known I was going to be a cop at this time, because then I pulled out my revolver, and it was bird. I was shooting birds at the window. Yeah. I was like, that's what I thought. I was like, birding? Y'all shoot birds for like fun? Like, pew, pew, pew. So yeah, that was a way for me to have fun when I was a younger kid. No, of course, nobody knew that I was flicking myself off in the mirror. That, just kind of a quick change, kind of dumb, but that I was 5. I lived in a trailer, and nothing wrong with people that live in trailers, but I had a mullet too, and I was fat. So I was a stereotype, but we've come a long way from that. Let's just quickly recap everywhere that we've been today. First of all, thanks for listening again and following us along, having this conversation with us. It's not easy. Stress consumes all of us, and finding out how you deal with that stress, how you're going to cope with the stress, what stress is coming up, and who you're going to deal with that stress really can change the outlook for you. Like I said, I've bounced back over 9 years in many different trials and tribulations, but that first realization of stress came from my 4-year-old, and that child just spoke the truth into me, and it wasn't easy. I take that, and we all pass along our little stories and what we did and where we've been to hopefully help you and also to help us. It's helping. Excuse me. That was weird. I got
you caught the corona.
I caught the Karen coronavirus. Yeah. That's what we're going to call it today. So I hope the CDC is following because they can
KC.
say, yep, she's definitely number one for the Karen coronavirus. But you're not alone. You don't have to be alone. Stress affects everybody. It affects your family members. It affects your bosses. It affects the people that work to the left and to the right of you. Talk about it. The more you realize what causes you stress, the easier it is to combat it and to come back from it. And if you're not willing to talk about it, think about it, and then ask a question. Sometimes the questions are harder than the answers. I think Dr. Seuss, and I think I learned that from Doug Levine, in one of his email closures. You know, he quoted Dr. Seuss a long time ago, and it always kind of stuck with me. I was like, where does that apply?
Dr. Seuss week last week.
Oh, how about that? Yes. Happy Dr. Seuss week passed. But actually, Meredith was talking about that this morning. So, you know, ask the question. If you're not sure, I promise you're not alone. The rest of the world goes through it, especially us right here. And I mean, if you're tired of Googling, set your phones down. Cut out all of the distractions. Live those relationships with good people. And if there's someone that's bringing you stress, cut them out of your life. That might be hard, but you can say it out loud. No, I don't welcome you to bring that stress on me. And watch the look. I mean, take a picture when you say that out loud to somebody. Once you recognize that that's the cause of your stress, and you tell them, they're going to be like, oh, crap, I'm a dirty person. You know, like I really need to change my life too. And maybe you help each other through that.
Yeah, you're causing me distress. Yeah. When you can give me some eustress, come back and see me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we got a couple things to talk about. I guess we got this really big fancy party, and we definitely want you all to be a part of it. So Karen's going to close us out with all the fun things that we got coming up.
Real quick, I just wanted to put this out there. Our 844 number on our website. We are having some technical issues with that. If you need to call that 844 number, what we have found is that right now you must call from a cell phone. If you call from a landline for whatever reason, it is not working. So we have to get to the bottom of that.
Who calls from landlines anymore, though?
Apparently, a few people have, because I got some emails saying your number is not working. But
people in the Midwest and that kind of stuff too, yeah.
No, from Florida.
Oh, wow.
Yes, from Florida.
Thanks.
So, and I also wanted to put this out there that if you try to call from the landline, you absolutely need to put the 1-844 in there, because we get so used to just putting, on our cell phone, no one. But anyway, as far as our first responder ball, we are getting so excited about that. It is June 13th. We have some amazing things planned for that night. We're going to have a fabulous cocktail hour at 5 o'clock. The doors open at 6 o'clock, and we will party from 6 o'clock until 10. We have Sheriff John Mina from Orange County, who's going to be our keynote speaker. Chris Fields, he's retired Oklahoma City firefighter. He actually was a firefighter during the Oklahoma City bombing.
He has the most iconic picture that came from that.
Yes, he does.
Carrying the baby.
Anybody who was around at that time, I was a child at that time, and I remember that picture. I think it was on Newsweek. He will be speaking as well. We are so excited to have both of them there. And then Hot Pink. They are going to be our live entertainment at the end of the night. So we're going to close the night out with a whole bunch of dancing. So it is going to be so much fun. We are still looking for sponsors. We have some great sponsors, but we are looking for more. So if your business wants to sponsor, please give us a call. Use your cell phone for now, or
shoot us an email. Karen,
email.
Doug, or Chris at survivefirst.us.
Yes, it's going to be an amazing night. Tickets are on sale right now through Eventbrite, and pretty soon they will be on sale through our website. So check it out. You don't want to miss that night. It's going to be amazing.
Kevin, Karen, Chris, Doug Mondo, we miss you. We love you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
We love you.